Good morning. I am Dr. Balaji Narayanaswamy Ramanathan. This is my channel NANRSTR School of Wisdom, part of daily reading. Today we will be reading the Buddhist Catechism by H.S. Olcot, published by the Theosophical Publishing House, Adaya. The Buddhist Catechism is an invaluable textbook for those wishing to familiarize themselves with the basic principles of Buddhism. Since its first edition in 1881, it has been published in more than 20 languages, mainly by Buddhists for Buddhists, and was widely used in the Buddhist educational movement which Colonel H.S. Olcot established in Ceylon, now Sri Lanka. The book is constructed in an easy-to-follow question-answer form, together with an appendix which outlines the 14 fundamental Buddhist tenets. These 14 items were accepted as fundamental in both the southern and northern section of Buddhism by authoritative committees to whom they were submitted by the author personally. The unpretending aim in view to give so sufficient and yet comprehensive a digest of Buddhistic history, ethics and philosophy as to enable beginners to understand and appreciate the noble ideal taught by the Buddha, and thus makes it easier for them to follow the Dharma in its details. From the preface to the 33rd edition by Henry H.S. Olcot. Related books of interest, Applied Theosophy and Other Essays, The Golden Roots of Buddhism, Old Diary Leaves, The Early History of Theosophical Society, 6 volumes, Henry S. Olcot, The Smaller Buddhist Catechism, C.W. Leadbeater, Buddhism, Annie Besant, The Light of Asia, Edwin Arnold, The Noble Eightfold Path, Annie Besant and C.W. Leadbeater, Buddhist Meditation by Srimpoji, Nirvana by G.S. Arundel, The Buddhist and Theosophical Movement, C.V. Agarwal. Namo Tase Bhagavate Arhado Sama Samudesa, The Buddhist Catechism, Henry S. Olcot, President, Founder of the Theosophical Society. The Theosophical Publishing House, Adayar, Chennai. Publisher's Note. In March 2006, the Buddhist Catechism first appeared in print in 1881 and was reprinted numerous times until 1897, when an extended and revised second edition, called according to old terminology the 33rd edition, was brought out. The popularity of the publication remained undiminished, and in 1908 the third edition, designed 42nd edition with a few amendments by the High Priest Sumangala, including the elimination of some questions, was published soon after Colonel Olcot's death in 1907. All further issues of the book are reprints of the 1908 edition with consecutive numbering of the question. Original Pali words have been restored to the extent possible. March 2006. Dedication. Adayar 1903. In token of respect and affection, I dedicate to my counselor and friend of many years, Hibadude Sumangala, Pradhana Nayaga Satvira and High Priest of Adam P. Sripada in the Western Province, the Buddhist Catechism in its revised form. Approved and recommended for use in Buddhist schools by H. Sumangala, Pradhana Nayaga Satvira, High Priest of Sripada and the Western Province and Principal of the Vidyodaya Parivina. Preface to the 33rd second edition. In the working out of my original plan, I have added more questions and answers in the text of each new English edition of the Catechism, leaving it to its translator to render them into whichever of the other vernaculars they may be working in. The unpretending aim in view is to give so sufficient and yet comprehensive digest of Buddhistic history, ethics and philosophy as to enable beginners to understand and appreciate the noble ideal taught by the Buddha, and this make it easier for them to follow the Dharma in its details. In the present edition, a great many new questions and answers have been introduced. While the matter has been grouped with 5 categories, namely the life of the Buddha, the doctrine, the Sangha or the monastic order, a brief history of Buddhism, its councils and propaganda, some reconciliation of Buddhism with science. This, it is believed, will largely increase the value of the little book and make it even more suitable for use in Buddhist schools, of which in Ceylon, Sri Lanka, over 100 have already been opened by the Sinhalese people under the generous supervision of the Theosophical Society. In preparing this edition, I have received valuable help from some of my oldest and best qualified Sinhalese colleagues. The original edition was gone over with me, word by word, by that eminent scholar and Bhikkhu, H. Sumangala, Pradhana Nyayaga, and the assistant principal of his Pali College at Colombo, Hayan Tuveta Anunayaga Tirunasi, and the High Priest has also kindly scrutinized the present revision and gave me invaluable points to embody. It has the merit, therefore, of being a fair presentation of the Buddhism of the Southern Church, chiefly derived from first-hand sources. The Catechism has been published in 20 languages, mainly by Buddhists for Buddhists. H.S. Olcot, Adayar, 17 May 1897. Preface to the 36th edition. The popularity of this little book seems undiminished, edition after edition being called for. While the present one was in the press, a second German edition, retranslated by the learned Dr. Erich Bischoff, was published at Leipzig by the Griebnius Company, and the third translation into French by my old friend and colleague, Commandment D.A. Cormus, was being got ready at Paris. A fresh version in Sinhalese is also preparing at Colombo. It is very gratifying to a declared Buddhist like myself to read what so ripe a scholar as Mr. G.R.S. Mead, author of Fragments of Faith Forgotten, Pistis Sophia, and many other works on Christian origins, thinks of the value of the compilation. He writes in the Theosophical Review, it has been translated into no less than 20 different languages and may be said without the faintest risk of contradiction to have been the busiest instrument of Buddhist propaganda for many a day in the annals of that long, somnolent Dharma. The least the learned Buddhist of Ceylon can do to repay the debt of gratitude they owe to Colonel Olcot and other members of the Theosophical Society who have worked for them is to bestir themselves to throw some light on their own origins and doctrines. I am afraid we shall have to wait long for this help to come from the Buddhist because almost the only learned men of Ceylon. At least I have not been able during an intimate intercourse of 22 years to arouse the zeal. It has always seemed to me incongruous that an American making no claim at all to scholarship should be looked to by the Sinhalese nation to help them teach the Dharma to their children. And I believe I have said in an earlier edition, I only consented to write the Buddhist Catechism after I had found that no bhikkhu would undertake it, whatever it demerits. I can at least say that the book contains the essence of some 15,000 pages of Buddhist teaching that I have read in connection with my work. H.S. Olcott, Adayar, 7 February 1903. Preface to the 40th edition. The popularity of this little book is proved by the constant demand for new editions in English and other languages. In looking over the matter for the present edition, I have found very little to change or to add, for the work seems to present a very fair idea of the contents of Southern Buddhism, and as my object is never to write an extended essay on the subject, I resist the temptation to wander off into amplification of details which, however interesting to the student of comparative religion, are useless in a rational scheme of elementary instruction. The new Sinhalese version, 38th edition, which is being prepared by my respected friend D.B. Jayatilaka, Principal of Ananda Buddhist College, Colombo, is partly printed but cannot be completed until he is relieved of some of the pressure upon his time. The Tamil version 41st edition has been undertaken by the leaders of Panchama community of Madras, Chennai and will shortly issue from the press. The Spanish version 39th edition is in the hands of my friend CNRS Fire and the French one 37th edition in those of Commandment Corners. So the work goes on, and by this unpretending agency and teaching of the Buddha Dharma are being carried throughout the world. H.S. Olcot, Adayar, 7 January 1905. Preface to the 42nd edition. The writer of the Catechism has passed away from earth, but before he left the body, he had arranged with the high priest Sumangala to make some small correction in the text. These are incorporated in the present edition by the High Priest's wish, expressed to me in Colombo in November 1907. I have not altered the numbering of the questions, as it might cause confusion in a class to change the numbers, if some pupils had the older edition and some the new. Anibescent Adayar, 17 February 1908. Condensed. The life of the Buddha, the Dharma of doctrine, the Sangha, the rise and spread of Buddhism and science. The life of Dharma. What is Buddhism? It is a body of teaching given out by the great personage known as the Buddha. Was the Buddha God? No. Buddha Dharma teaches no divine incarnation. Is the exact spot known? It is now identical beyond question, and archaeology in the service of Government of India has discovered in the jungle of the Nepal Terai a stone pillar erected by the mighty Buddhist sovereign Ashoka to mark the very spot. The place was known in those times as the Lumbini Garden. What use did he make of the knowledge thus gained? At first he was reluctant to teach it to the people at large. Why? Because of its profound importance and sublimity, he feared that only a few people would understand it. What made to alter his view? He saw that it was his duty to teach what he has learned as clearly and simply as possible, and trust to the truth impressing itself upon the popular mind in proportion to each one's individual karma. It was the only way of salvation, and every being had an equal right to have it pointed out to him. So he determined to begin with his 5 late companions who had been abandoned him when he broke his fast. Did he see Yashodhara and his son Rahula? Yes, his wife who had mourned for him with deepest love wept bitterly. She also sent Rahula to ask him to give him inheritance as the son of the prince. What happened? To one and all he preached the Dharma as the cure for all sorrows. His father, son, wife, Ananda, his half-brother, Devadatta, his cousin and brother-in-law, all were converted and became his disciple. 2 other famous ones were Aniruddha, afterwards a great metaphysician, and Ubadi, a barber, afterwards the greatest authority in Vinaya. Both of these gained great renown. The Dharma of doctrine. What is the meaning of the word Buddha? The enlightened, or he who has the perfect wisdom? Tell me some things that cause sorrow. Birth, decay, illness, death, separation from objects, We love association with those who are repugnant, craving for what cannot be obtained. What is nirvana? A condition of total cessation of changes, of perfect rest, of the absence of desire and illusion and sorrow, of the total obliteration of everything that goes to make up the physical man. Before reaching nirvana, man is constantly being reborn. When he reaches nirvana, he is born no more. What is the noble eightfold path? The eight paths of this path are called Agna. They are the right belief, right thought, right speech, right action, right means of livelihood, right exertion, right remembrance and self-discipline, right concentration of thought. Sangha. How do Buddhist bhikkhus differ from the priests of other religion? In other religion, the priests claim to be intercessors between men and God to help to obtain pardon of sins. The Buddhist bhikkhus do not acknowledge or expect anything from a divine power. The rise and spread of Buddhism. As regards the number of its followers, how does Buddhism at this date compare with the other chief religion? The followers of the Buddha Dharma outnumbers those of every other religion. What is the estimated number? About 500 million, 5,000 lakhs or 50 crores. This is 5/13 or not quite half of the estimated population of the globe. Buddhism and science. Has Buddhism any right to be considered a scientific religion or may it be classified as a revealed one? Most empirically, it is not a revealed religion. The Buddha did not so preach nor is it so understood. On the contrary, he gave it out as the statement of eternal truth, which his predecessors has taught like himself. Do Buddhists accept the theory that everything has been formed out of nothing by a creator? The Buddha taught that two things are causeless, namely Akasha and Nirvana. Everything has come out of Akasha in obedience to a law of motion inherent in it. And after a certain existence passes away, nothing ever comes out of nothing. We do not believe in miracles, hence we deny creation and cannot conceive of a creation of something out of nothing. Nothing organic is eternal. Everything is in a state of constant flux and undergoing change and reformation, keeping up the continuity according to the law of evolution. Is Buddhism opposed to education and to study of science? Quite the contrary, in the Singalovada Sutta, in a discourse preached by the Buddha, he specified as one of the duties of a teacher that he should give his people instruction in science and law. The Buddha higher teachings are for the enlightened, the wise, and the thoughtful. An appendix is given. An appendix fundamental Buddhist belief is given. Buddhists are taught to show same tolerance and it functions according to law. Buddhism is founded on natural. Ignorance fosters the belief that rebirth. Dispersion of all this ignorance can be attained by preserving practice of an all-embracing altruism, the desire to living being the cause of rebirth, the miseries of existence. Right meditation leads to spiritual enlightenment. The essence of Buddhism is to cease from all sin, to get virtue, to purify the heart. The universe is subject to a natural causation known as karma. The obstacles of the attainment of good karma may be removed by the observance of the moral code. Kill not, steal not, indulge in no forbidden sexual pleasure, lie not, take no intoxication or stupefying drug or liquor. 5 other precepts which need not be. Buddhism discourages superstition, cruelty. H.S. Olcot, President of the Theosophical Society. Burma, Ceylon, and bibliography. And about the author. Founder President of the Theosophical Society, was born on 2nd August 1832 in Norwich, New Jersey, USA. He distinguished himself in the field of agriculture as a young man and later for his service to the US government during the Civil War. In 1874, when investigating spiritualistic phenomena, he met H.P. Blavatsky and together they became the principal founders of the society. He devoted the rest of his life to work for the society and related causes. He is well known and revered for his work in reinvigorating Buddhism throughout Asia. He died on 17 February 1907 at Adayar, Chennai, Madras, India. Okay, thank you. And for those who are not subscribed, may kindly subscribe. And if this will be useful for anyone, kindly share with these people. Thank you.